Gasp! Look, Mrs. Butthead. That little gray cat looks like yours. And it wanted a kitten so bad. They're eating peacefully together. You pregnant yet? You fat butt bitch, you. Watermelon smuggler. Hopefully I'll have a job here soon. I'm not expecting much. I'm expecting the news to be something along the lines of, unfortunately we just can't afford it right now. With fuel prices or whatever, and I'll have to go back to the grindstone. If I do get a job driving over the road, if I find something that, pays decent enough and, has good home time to out time ratio, I'll take my weights with me because I prefer weights over bands. I just do. If I get in a wreck, they become projectiles, but I don't care. Cardio, I'll be able to do that. I'll do like 2 a days when I'm home. 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening, like every day. Plus at truck stops and rest areas. Like rest areas, they're usually pretty big, so you can jog/walk, just around in circles. I've done that before. Wouldn't want to do that at truck stops, just because, the parking lots themselves usually smell like piss. And it's just too crowded and, just wouldn't want to do that. So I'd, just go down the street. I used to do that too, depending on the area. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do it in a rough area, but yeah, I used to do that. So that'll be a little bit more of a problem doing the cardio stuff, but the weights will be just the same as it was with Walmart, doing my push-ups and body weight squats and my nutrition and all that stuff. I can pre-make, enough stuff for 7 days, when I leave out. But, I'm probably going to stay out for, 2 to 3 weeks and come home for 3 to 4 days. So I'll have to swing into a Walmart and stock up on like fresh fruits and vegetables. And as far as protein goes, I wouldn't have access to a stove. And microwaves don't cook things, they just warm them up. So I couldn't go into a truck stop and use their microwaves, and cook something for like 20 minutes, hijack the microwave. I don't know how I'd get around that. I guess I could just take enough, meat, for 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, we'll just eat it like every other day, Get my daily protein intake, So have my shakes and, other sources to kind of bring everything together. But meat's the most dense and easiest to, get your protein. But I don't know. I guess I'll have to experiment. Because most trucks come with refrigerators just standard these days. Walmart's trucks, they all had microwaves, but, that's Walmart. Most trucks don't have a microwave. You got to provide that. But, they come like from the factory, with a refrigerator. And they also have a freezer, but it's a little one, and then, I don't know. We'll experiment, because it used to be, all Walmarts were truck friendly, and then they weren't, and now they are again. I don't think you can park at all of them, but because they throw out trash and bottles of piss, or if they don't throw out the bottle full of piss, they'll dump it out, which means the parking lot starts to smell like piss. They might even throw out a sack of shit. They hit curbs and blow branches on trees, and parking lots aren't actually made, for trucks, because, I used to work in asphalt, and, they have like different blends and different layers for different applications. So an asphalt road might be, a thick layer, a medium layer, and then a thin layer, of like really fine material. And a parking lot might be just one thick layer and one thin layer of, for lack of a better word, cheaper material that was easier to mix. So trucks, parking, they tend to put dents in the parking lot, for lack of a better word. And if they need to turn really sharp, the front axle, on their trailer tires, if they've got two axles, on a full-size trailer, it can, make a skid mark on the asphalt, and for lack of a better word, it like rips it. It doesn't literally rip it, but, it's like hard on it, it puts kind of a literal like scrape mark in it, and whatever. I don't know. That was one thing that was really convenient driving for Walmart, is we could park at all the Walmarts. And it was set up in our log system where we could just type it in, closest or along the way, and you could just pick. So you could type that in along the way, and it would show. And we were allowed to do this while we were driving. You're probably not anymore. But, well, I don't know that. But so you knew, if you had an hour to drive, and there was one, that was 15 minutes away and one that was 45 minutes away, and the weather was good and there was no construction, you knew that you could pick the farther one, and you could get just that many more miles that day. So, I mean, you'd risk, there might be an accident or something, but that was nice. And of course, everything else was nice. The pay, the benefits, the fact that it was, 5 to 6 days out, basically just regional, wasn't long haul, and then 2 to 3 days at home. That was nice. I actually liked their pay system, as far as, get as many miles as you can, and the activities, so yeah. But I don't work there no more. For anybody who cares, anybody who's listening. So apparently I'm obsessed with your cat, Mrs. Butthead. Did the Gweed buy that for you? Or is that your favorite color? Gray. I don't know how that came about. Anyway. You take care now. Meow, meow, meowy cat. Meow, meow, meowy cat. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meowy cat. Meow, meow, meowy cat. All gray meowy cat. Meow. Not a tabby. Not a calico. Not the ones that are kind of brown with like the faded stripes. Not a black cat. Not a white cat. but an all gray little meowie cat. Meow.